With more than 6,000 small and microcap companies listed, if you're looking for the next apple at the earliest stage, then ChannelChek truly is the orchard. The listed companies support ChannelChek, so it's free for you, the potential investor, to gain access to institutional quality research from FINRA licensed analysts, advanced market data, industry reports, news, and a growing catalog of videos and webcasts. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and register for ChannelChek so you're always up to date on what's going on at the small and microcap data place. Welcome to the C-Suite series presented by ChannelChek and Noble Capital Markets. Noble is an SEC-registered, FINRA-licensed broker-dealer and the source of the equity research available on ChannelChek. Today's interview features Avivagen, OTC ticker symbol VIVXF, TSXV ticker symbol VIV. Noble Senior Research Analyst Joe Gomes interviews Avivagen CEO Kym Anthony. Visit channelchek.com or click the link in the description for Noble's research on Avivagen, as well as news and advanced market data. And now, here's Joe and Kym.
With us today is Kym Anthony, CEO of Avivagen Inc. Good afternoon, Kym, and thanks for taking the time to sit down with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
So Avivagen is addressing one of the world's largest health problems, antibiotic resistance. For those in the audience unfamiliar with the company, can you talk a little bit about the company's history and what the company does?
Absolutely. The company discovered, and I say discovered, not invented, a new active, biologically active product that was really not understood or studied before. It's very simple in what its concept is, but it's hard to find and even harder to understand. And it's taken years of research, initially starting out of the National Research Council in Canada. There was oncology research being done on beta-carotene, a common product. Everybody knows that it's a main source of vitamin A. But there were biological activities and health benefits seen that weren't explained by beta-carotene or vitamin A. Make a long story short, beta-carotene combines with oxygen in a very easy way. It forms two types of products when it does that. One is light molecular weight products, which are understood, have no biological activity, but understood, like the smell of a rose. But the 85% of other products, which are very complicated polymers that get formed strictly between the combination of oxygen with beta-carotene, is what our product is, OxC-beta. And the benefits of OxC-beta follow basically two categories. One is that it primes, doesn't activate, it primes the immune system of any living being that has an immune system, and it acts as a very powerful anti-inflammatory. So this product exists in nature. It's ubiquitous. Whenever you have dried tomatoes or squash or powdered carrots that have sat out in the air, there's bits of our material. So it's a natural product from that standpoint, but you can never get enough of it or of consistent quality if you try to extract it from carrot powder, etc. So we manufacture it synthetically, much the same as vitamin C is. It's patented, the processes are patented, the applications are patented, and the manufacturing process is patented. It's quite actually tricky to manufacture, but we manufacture it with a partner, and it is a fabulous product. You mentioned the antibiotic resistance. Our product does not act on bacteria, but our product acts on the host body to equip it to identify bacteria or viruses earlier and with more specificity, and aggressively go after the bacteria with the body's own defense system. The result is that you don't have to feed antibiotics in livestock feed, or you can drastically reduce it. So what we see, for example, in different types of livestock, in the trials we've done with dairy cows, there's on average a 23 to 27% reduction in bacteria in the milk of dairy cows. With sows, we see an improvement in the overall sow health, improvement in the quality of its colostrum and milk, less runts born, therefore less piglet mortality. In the piglets themselves, post-weaning, we see far less bacteria, less diarrhea, less E. coli, which is causing that, and a greater growth rate, so that if you remove antibiotics from their feed, in all the trials we've done, which is many of them, you really don't see any reduction in productivity with the animals, and in many instances you see a greater productivity, in other words, growth rate and feed conversion. So the way we attack the issue is to say the animal, whether it's human, fish, poultry, or pig or dairy cows, the animal is healthier. The animal is eating better, their gut formation, their gut microbiome is better, their immune system is healthier, and therefore the animal behaves better. Whether it's a companion animal with arthritis in its hips, an older dog, whether a human older dog like me or an older pet, or animals that are in production like piglets or poultry, or animals that are producing milk, which can't take antibiotics, like a sow, the passive immune that's going to the piglets, the health of the sow is noticeably different. We've had major studies done by research institutions as well as commercial farms around the world in all different climates, from New Zealand for dairy studies, China, the US, Philippines, Mexico, etc. And it's all been very consistent.
You touched on it here, but how extensive is the research into the efficacy of OxC-beta? And you can give us how it is different from alternatives?
There is really not a similar product. There are immune stimulants, say beta-glucans, but our product actually increases the number and the definition of your toll-like receptors, all of them, so that you have more sentries on the wall looking for pathogens. And it's systemic, so that we have a study that was done, it's published in a peer-reviewed journal out of New Zealand, on subclinical mastitis in cows, how they eliminated the bacteria, what they called cured, which as a non-pharmaceutical, we don't like the word cured, but that's what they used, and reduction and elimination of bacteria, and the shutting down of the mastitis cycle. And so that's a very powerful scientific journal and report. And the guy who headed it up, Dr. Scott McDougall, said he's never seen a non-antibiotic, a non-antimicrobial have this effect. But the effect is on the host body as opposed to on the bacteria or the virus. And we're finding, because of that, because it's not disease specific, we're finding more and more applications. And you know, with humans, we have started to work on more scientific studies to show efficacy in humans, but we have plenty, both in terms of the science, the laptop, and the actual field work to show, gosh, maybe 40 or 45 major studies that have been done. Some of them commercial, feed them and weigh them, but many of them research-driven and published in peer-reviewed journals. There's also scientific papers, chemistry papers, ubiquity paper, a safety paper that was just published recently. So there's lots of science and lots of trial data to show that this actually works.
And what about alternatives out there? We mentioned antibiotics. What other types of alternatives are there, and how are they different from OxC-beta?
Well, the alternatives, some of them are very old technology, like essential oils going back to the Middle Ages. Some of them are newer, like some types of enzymes. They all have different types of activities. Like I mentioned, a beta-glucan. Beta-glucan stimulates the immune system, which means there's a metabolic cost if there isn't bacteria. In ours, it primes the immune system. It's sort of upstream from that and gets it ready. There's really nothing that acts in the same way as ours, and it's not a targeted action. For example, we did a big trial with a swine producer in Thailand and against 8 other producers, and you know, our product worked really well in producing additional passive immune from the mother's milk, the colostrum in milk, AGG, IgG, etc. Well, we weren't the best, but we're not looking at that as the reason for the product. But when you step back and looked at the health of the sow, the mortality rate of the piglets, the total weaning weight of the piglets, because we're dealing with the overall health of the animals, our product was way ahead of everybody else. So it's not a product that is saying addressing the passive immune instruments in milk, or it's not addressing this or that particular thing. But what it does do is it increases the health and it increases the ability of an animal to fight off disease. There's just no other way to put it. We've done challenges with poultry, say necrotic enteritis challenges. Necrotic enteritis is one of those diseases very prevalent in the broiler chicken industry that slows down production. We have overwhelming evidence, not that we address the necrotic enteritis, but that the birds that are on our program can handle it and get rid of it, with their own system. So that's a little bit of a difference with our product.
You mentioned multiple end markets: livestock, companion animals, human health. In which ones is the company currently selling product, and how big is the total addressable market?
In livestock, which is where we started, if you want to call it that, to commercialize the science. And it's a long, hard road. People know that it's hand-to-hand combat out there as you're dealing with a COVID environment and you're dealing with what is really a conservative, hard to change market. People don't like to change, but in some markets, they're more aggressive because they know the need is there. And livestock, we've really started to commercialize. We started slowly. Our year end is October 31st. In 2019, we sold about 8 tons of the product. In 2020, it was 10 tons. Well, this year, we just announced a week and a half ago, signing a contract, 16-month contract for 64.5 tons, another contract for 10 tons, another contract for 6 tons, and other buyers that have continued to increase their rate of adoption. One of the things we found in the livestock market, it's hard to get guys to actually start to use it. But once they do, they never want to go off it. And some clients in Mexico, for example, in the dairy market, are receiving higher checks from their bulk milk processor because the volume of the milk is higher, the bacteria count is lower, on average 23-25%, and the quality of the fats and proteins is better. So they're getting higher money from their purchaser. And so we have not seen a situation in livestock where anybody's dropped the product, which is, I think, very important to know. So it's still a challenge to get new customers using it, but it gets easier and easier with each new one. The companion animal product is, we are now in a joint venture on Amazon in the US with a company called Mimi's Rock. They are one of the largest human nutraceutical companies on Amazon, and we're selling under their Dr. Tobias brand, and those are dog chews. And it's grinding its way up. We haven't spent really any money to speak of advertising, but by word of mouth, it's grinding its way up. And because anybody can see that their pet, which may have been stiff or had hot spots on its coats, gets immeasurably better. It takes about 2 weeks for the product to make the changes in the physiology to see those benefits. It's a minor part of our business right now, but we've had a lot of interest from offshore. We're starting to sell product into Taiwan. We're registering in Mexico. We've just sold some into Brazil. So the companion animal is a much gentler slope because we're dealing with individuals by it, but it's pretty solid. And I think as time goes by, it'll become bigger and bigger. The human is very interesting. The human nutraceutical market, we launched in February, again in joint venture with Dr. Tobias, Mimi's Rock, and it's a true joint venture. So it's right down the middle on everything. And it is, again, one of those things we may have. It's called Beta Blend, Dr. Tobias Beta Blend. And it's a crowded space, with everybody's got something that helps the immune system, whether it's zinc or vitamin D or turmeric or whatever. But this has the convenience of actually working. And we're just starting to spread out in terms of social media understanding and advertising. And I expect, we're working on the approval for the human product in Mexico, in China, and in Taiwan. And so it's nothing now to speak of. We're making sales, but I think as we go in the future and we do some clinical efficacy type trials, what a great thing, for this time of COVID. I'll say it the way it is. It's not a COVID drug, but anything that can improve your immune system and reduce the inflammatory storm that your body's immune system creates is actually a really good. Almost all of our employees take it. Many of our shareholders in Canada take it. It's available on Amazon.com in the US. And, I have to be careful. I can't say too much, but I've been taking it now for a couple of years, and I just don't get the flu or much of anything anymore. So all I can say is anecdotally, again, it works, and we know the science really well, so it works. And there are other markets. We have not spent the time and money. We did one study a few years ago in aqua on rainbow trout. We know it works, and the longer term plans of the company are to address the aqua industry, particularly Chile, Norway, and Canada, where the cold water fishing is, the salmon fishing largely, and Chilean sea bass. That's a very good market as well. So between the livestock, there's a billion of livestock feed sold in the world today. The US is about 200 million, China about 200 million. We're not far away from approval in China, and the addressable market for us. If you can imagine that in little old Mexico, we've contracted for about 70 or 80 tons, and the addressable market is the hundreds of millions of dollars for us. How much of that we get over time, or doing partnerships with others, that remains to be seen. But the addressable market is hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more. On the human side, same thing. If we can move forward and get some provable efficacy data on the human side, which is a little more expensive, then we will have a very good opportunity to build that into a large, robust business. Companion animal business will percolate along, but it will be, despite the billions that are spent on animals every year, it will likely be the third out of the three.
Now, in addition to the multiple products, and you kind of touched on this in your last answer, the company has and is expanding its geographic reach. Can you touch on the progress here, and especially the progress being made in the two largest feed markets, the US and China?
Yeah, US, we have self-affirmed GRAS status. We have filed our safety paper and made it public. That is a necessary component of filing the FDA no objection letter. To clear the decks, we terminated the contract we had with another company, which was a spin-off from Cargill, and we are talking to others about working with us to help us. And the U.S. market is obviously very key. It's very helpful to us that we've been so successful just across the border in Mexico, because Mexico is viewed a little bit like a test bed, and a lot of the larger U.S. producers are watching what we're doing there. And we've had fair amount of test results in the U.S. that are very positive. All the test results are positive, but we've done a fair number, not enough, but a fair number that we actually have U.S. data. We are very close. We've been working with Kofco Biotech, a government agency under retainer, to guide us through the registration process in China. They tell us we're very close. I don't want to put a date on it, but we're very close, and our product is going through its final testing there. We also have an application which I think is very near term in Vietnam, of all places. Vietnam is increasingly important in the region because it's a large and growing supplier to China. Just to put it in context, there's a lot of countries that have about 20 million metric tons of feed a year. Philippines being about 18 million tons, and we've got a 10-ton a year business there. It's small, but it's very profitable and very good for us. Well, Vietnam is probably by next year going to be 50% bigger than Philippines, and they will be closing in 3 to 4 years, closing in on the size of Mexico. Mexico being the 7th largest in the world. So Vietnam's important, and some of our early trials were done there, which were very, very successful. It's staggeringly successful. We also have our very successful distributor in Mexico. We gave him permission on 5 additional countries: Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina, and Peru. And so he's working on those, and those together are about the same size as Mexico. We are approved in Brazil, full approval in Brazil, as we are in Mexico and in Malaysia. And so we're at the point now where when we get China, we'll be dealing with, over half the world production. And that's where we are. And we're, as I said, we're picking and choosing our spots for human and companion animals.
Sounds like a nice inflection point there for the company. The company mentions it has a recurring, increasing revenue model. Can you add some more color as to what that means?
Well, our first customer was Unaco, first commercial customer in the Philippines. They bought 50 kilograms. That was 4 years ago. Their last order last month, which actually didn't get delivered till May, was 4.4 tons. And when we look at the customers that we have built up in Mexico and elsewhere, they start small because they want to see it actually in action. They've done the test, they want to see it, and then they come back and increase and increase. We have that experience with a distributor in Thailand. The very big swine producer, their swine and poultry that I mentioned in Thailand, did 4 different trials last year. That's why I say it's hard slogging. This is not an easy process. But they finally bought 50 kilograms, and then 2 weeks later bought another 100 kilograms, and we expect them to just keep going. And as I said, we've not had a single customer, knock on wood, that has stopped using the product.
You briefly touched on it, that Avivagen has a broad patent portfolio. What competitive advantages does the company have, and how big of a moat does the company possess, in your opinion?
I think it's quite extensive. There's 2 types of protections. One is patent protection. We have 31 patents. The latest patent we just filed, they go out into the 2030s. They relate to use patents, process patents. There are some manufacturing patents, but at the end of the day, there is also a considerable amount of know-how in the production with our manufacturing partner. We have a toll manufacturer that we've worked with for 8 years in developing ways to manufacture the product, and it's just not that easy. And some of those things are not patented, or maybe even patentable, but I'd rather not patent them anyway because they're know-how. And so, look, at the end of the day, can somebody reverse engineer it? Maybe, but yeah, I mean, I think that would be good. I will tell you that we reneged on our original thrust into China because the partner we were with in the registration process, it was very clear that there was an effort to take the IP. Again, people say, how can that be? Well, if you ask for the serial numbers of the equipment that's manufacturing it, as part of a regulatory approval, you kind of get the hint that something else is going on. So we canceled that, cost us some money, and we did it on our own. And we will go through, we're not going to do the distribution on our own, but we have direct contact with some large producers, and we'll do it. But you also you can't be stupid and just give it away. You have to be willing to do those things that do protect you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your history with the company?
I was originally a financial guy. I was in the investment banking business for 30 odd years. I was CEO of a couple of the larger investment dealers in Canada. At the same time, I have an ag background, and I had one of the largest beef cattle operations, purebred and actually right to the table, branded all natural meat program. And I'm part of the North American Limousin Foundation Hall of Fame. I've gotten awards in agriculture from France, from Italy, etc. And when I retired, I made a number of investments, and I was CEO of a large, or not CEO, chairman of a large pharmaceutical company. And after 6 years and cashing out of that, one of the people that serviced Avivagen said, "Would you come on as chairman?" And I did. And that was about 5 years ago, and I made an investment in the company. And we had to part ways with the CEO. And I said, they asked me if I would step into the shoes for a few years. And so I have stepped into the shoes for a few years. And I said, I will help and get this thing going and make the sales that are necessary to get this company into a very safe and profitable place. And that's almost where we are. We will be there by the end of this calendar year.
Thank you for joining us for this C-Suite interview presentation brought to you by ChannelChek. Visit our YouTube channel for more interview content, as well as virtual roadshows and conference presentation replays. New content is added regularly, so subscribe below to stay up to date. Visit channelchek.com or click the link in the description to access equity research, news, and advanced market data on this and the 6,000 other small and microcap companies listed.